There are a lot of boxing gloves out there. There's a lot of colors, a lot of different types of gloves, and a lot of different brands. So how do you know how to pick out the right boxing glove for you? That's what we're going to go over today. You got to wear a glove because it's going to protect your hand. It's just as simple as that. You have to protect, usually the things that you're going to experience are, you're going to need to protect your knuckles and you need to protect your wrist. Inside of your boxing glove, you will find quite a bit of roominess, a lot of space, and that's because people who do boxing techniques are going to wrap their hands. Hand wraps, it's another video, but just keep that in mind that if you wear this with a bare hand, you might still experience some pain or discomfort on your fingers. Typically what I would find is what I would get maybe without a glove on, which might be a little bit of bruising in between the knuckles or right here on top. So a boxing glove is going to prevent that for you, especially if you're doing a lot of repetitions, a lot of impact on a heavy bag or a freestanding bag. Let's take a look at the inside materials inside of a glove. This is a view that you're probably not going to get, not even on a manufacturer's website. So in order to get this view, you'd have to literally open up a glove. I've already done it for you. I have two different gloves here. One is a cheaper glove, super cheap. It has a vinyl exterior. I would consider this almost a starter glove, but basically something that you would really only want to use for a few months just to test things out and see if you're really serious. The other glove that I have is a synthetic glove on the outside. It's going to be much more typical of what you find for a middle of the road glove. If you go online to Amazon and you type in gloves, for the most part, you're going to get a synthetic glove. So right off the bat, when you look at these gloves, the inside, you're going to see a big difference in the foam padding. So the synthetic glove has a sort of closed cell foam, and it's nice and dense, and you can also see how thick it is all the way around. So over time, this is gonna wear a lot nicer. It's gonna take longer for this to compact and feel the need for a new glove. Padding is probably not gonna be a problem with this glove for a long time. On the other hand, if you look at this cheaper glove here, you can see what they've used at the top here is sort of like a piece of rubber almost. And then the next level you have here is what looks like what they kind of put under carpet. And then the final layer that they have is just I think this is an open cell foam. So this is kind of like a foam square that you would get for sound absorption, right? So they're trying to combine three really cheap different pieces of foam and padding to give you that padding, but these are going to collapse and not give you protection on those knuckles quite like this would give you. And you can even see this has a lot of nice give. It feels very comfortable, whereas this is very firm and there's just not a lot of give, particularly in this area where you would be punching right up here. The part that's the carpet and the other piece of cheap open cell foam, that's going to compact pretty quickly. So really what you're looking at is this rubber padding. Whereas here, this is the spot where you'd be striking right here on top, and you could tell this is the thickest part of the glove on the inside. So this is just an inside view to give you an idea of when they talk about what type of internal material is inside of the glove, you are going to get more padding and better padding when you spend a little bit more money. Cheaper gloves are going to kind of throw in a lot of different things to make it cheap, and a little bit more, not even that much more, but just a little bit more money is going to get you a nicer bit of foam. It's going to be more comfortable, and it's going to give you a lot more protection. Now that we've taken a look at the internal materials on the striking surface and the padding up top, now we can kind of move down further into the wrist materials. You're not going to be struck on the wrist, so you don't need to worry about what type of padding is here, but you can again see where they're starting to save on materials here. Looks like they've just thrown some different pieces in here to fill that out, but it's really cheap foam. This one's still cheap foam, not built for impact, but it is a little more comfortable, less materials used, just a couple, so it makes the glove a little bit nicer and more even all around. But the next thing that we can really see is the internal materials right here. So this is what would be touching your hand inside. And you can see these are both relatively similar. This one's even lighter than this one. This is like a nylon material. I like to call it backpack material. It's what's on the inside of a backpack. It's the lowest, cheapest sort of internal material you're gonna find on a glove. It has no sweat wicking capabilities. It's just going to let that sweat get in there. It's gonna be, your hand's probably gonna feel clammy a lot quicker. Versus I have this glove, the Hayabusa. If we were to open this up, you can look inside and I can show you closer. Here you've got a material that has a little bit of padding. It feels more like a sweat wicking material. It's comfortable. It's not like a fleece, but it's probably some type of polyester blend that's going to make your hand feel a little bit less sweaty. It's gonna wake up that sweat a lot better than the nylon, where it's just gonna sit there and your hand's gonna feel pretty wet. Let's dive into the exterior of the boxing glove, things that you're gonna notice right when you pick up the glove itself. So we've got the types of materials that the glove is made out of. There are, I would say, generally speaking, 3 different big categories. At the low end, you've got that vinyl covering, which is like a car seat. It's going to rip and tear over time, and especially at the seams. So you can see where this one's wrinkling here. If I keep hitting in the impact, I'm going to rip on a vinyl glove. In the middle road, you've got synthetic materials. That's made up of multiple types of materials. It's generally gonna give you a softer feel. It will wear better over time. It's gonna be pretty durable, and that's what you're gonna find for the most part. And then at the high end, you're gonna find a nice traditional leather glove. Leather is gonna wear just like any other leather product really nicely. It's going to get better as it ages. It's not going to tear in general unless you hit it on something sharp. So it's gonna be a really lasting material for your glove. The glove I have here, this Hayabusa, is actually a synthetic leather. Not really sure how that's made, but basically it's trying to mimic what leather would be. It also has 2 different materials, so it's kind of got that on this exterior here on the thumb. It's a little soft. It's just a different type of material. So when I'm looking at this glove, I'm going to notice what is the material right off the bat. I'm going to flip it over, and the next thing I really want to look at is I want to check out the seams on the glove. So here I can really start to see that the seams are nice and clean. I don't see any frayed edges, and it's reinforced very nicely. Then I'm gonna notice what type of closure I have here. So we're all gonna, for the most part, they're gonna have a Velcro unless you're using lace-up gloves, which aren't really typical for fitness or bag work. So you're gonna have Velcro. So sometimes Velcro, how good the Velcro is going to be does matter, just like a good zipper. And then I'm going to notice some of them have additional wrist support features. We'll get into that later. And then I'm probably going to notice the inside of the glove material as well. But just from the outside, when I take a look at this glove versus, say, a cheaper nylon glove, vinyl glove, I can start to see the quality in those seams that I had talked about before. If you're ready to buy a new pair of boxing gloves, one of the first questions you're gonna have is, what size do I need? Boxing gloves aren't like a pair of shoes. There's not a very specific size that's going to fit your hand. Boxing gloves are in ounces by the weight of the glove. So typically you'll find a range from 10 ounce up to 16. So 10, 12, 14, 16 ounce. That's gonna be the most common range that you're gonna find for a glove. Sometimes you will find an 8 ounce or maybe an 18 ounce on either side, but those aren't common. Generally speaking, 10 ounce gloves, 12 ounce gloves, they're gonna be a little bit smaller, and the 14 and 16s are gonna feel bigger. That said, if you have a smaller hand, you may still prefer a 14 ounce or 16, or you may have a need for it. So if you're gonna be hitting that bag really hard, or if you want a little bit of extra padding for your sparring partner, you may want to have more padding. The ounces and the weight of the glove is going to give you more padding. Typically you'll find the weight is going to happen up here at the top where you're getting that hand protection. So when it comes to sizing and gloves, there's a lot of variability, and it also really depends on you and what you're gonna be doing. I also like to tell people that From brand to brand, a 12-ounce glove could feel different. Even within the same brand, from the exact same glove to another pair of that exact same glove, that 12-ounce could feel a little bit different. So when it comes to weights for the gloves, sizing for a glove, you really can't beat putting one on and trying it on and seeing if it's something that you like. The last component I want you to think about when you're buying boxing gloves is the protection in general. So weight is going to be one of those in terms of knuckle support, but also you're going to have a few other differences. One of the most notable is going to be the wrist support. So I want to show this pair of Hayabusas because it's quite different than most pair of boxing gloves. You're going to find with this one a double wrist support here. So it's got two, it has one. This one's got elastic here, so it's elastic. So I can pull it nice and tight, cinch that down. Then once I'm there, I can just flip this over. For the most part, other boxing gloves, you have to tighten this, right? So pull it nice and tight around your wrist. With this double Velcro system, you can just use this one to get it nice and tight, and then this one is a little bit more decorative, I would say. So there are different types of wrist support systems. This is one, I think it's pretty nice, especially if you have any wrist issues. It will make your glove nice and snug. For wrist issues, definitely make sure you have those hand wraps down, because that's going to give you your first line of defense on any wrist issues. Knuckle support, also the width of the glove or the length of the glove. Some people prefer a glove that's a little bit longer. Again, it's going to provide a little bit more protection on your wrist. Also, the width of the glove is going to change up how you're striking that bag and how it's going to be landing on your knuckles as well as your wrist. Some of that's going to be preference, but some of it is built for protection. Just keep it in mind, consider some features. If someone is having a lot of wrist issues, I do recommend finding something where you can really get that glove nice and tight, maybe a little bit longer. If someone's struggling with knuckle pain, then you really want to make sure you get a lot of padding, potentially even a wider glove. To wrap things up, one of the most important tips that I can give you when it comes to shopping for a boxing glove is to try it on. There's really no replacement for it. We are in a world that loves to order online. However, when you get that glove, you might put it on your hand and say, this feels really uncomfortable. So if you have an opportunity to try on different gloves, definitely do that. You're going to put that glove on and you're going to feel a few different things right off the bat. One is going to be how your thumb feels. The other is going to be how your fingers feel. Sometimes when you put the glove on, you can feel the seams hitting your fingers here, and that's going to be a no. Even though everything else about the glove feels great or looks great or it sounded great on paper, as soon as you put your hand in, you feel a weird seam and it is uncomfortable. You might feel other types of seams poking through, just again, that variability in the different types of gloves, particularly in a cheaper glove. So make sure that you have an opportunity to try it on and that it feels comfortable. It's also super tempting to want to pick a really cool color or whatever it might be. And yes, if you want a cool color glove, that's great, but maybe you have a couple pairs so that sometimes you can mix it up with a little bit of flair, and sometimes you can have a glove that's going to give you and your hand the protection that you need. You got to put the glove on, hit the bag, see if it feels comfortable, and if it does, that's going to be the glove for you.